When stars get an opportunity to collide like they did at UFC 300, moments are made. We didn't get one of them this weekend. We got multiple of them, from Max Holloway throwing it down to Alex Pereira letting the world know he is nothing to be played with. We had a fantastic night of fights. UFC 300, safe to say, delivered. And what we're here to do, folks, is we're here to talk about the breakdown. We gave you some picks. We want to break it down, some recaps, some analysis. Of course, I can't do any of this without my co-host, so let me bring him in. The Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. This was something for the history books. Everybody's gonna say it. It can't be overstated, but we had banger after banger after banger. 1 out of 10. What's the score you're giving it, my friend?
Whew, it's hard not to go 10, Derek, especially for all the fights there that night. I'm going to be reserved. I'm giving it like a 9.2. I think there could have been a little bit more, but still, man, this was an incredible night of fights. Anytime people are squaring up, going toe-to-toe, nobody's shooing, it's playground rules, you know, we're having a great time.
When you got a BMF fight that was like 2 fights into the main card, and then you already had the adrenaline dump, like, oh my god, my night feels over. I felt that way for the Derick G fight, man. That was on the prelims. So folks, a lot to break down. Let's go ahead and let's bring up the records. As you can see, AJ has made a storming comeback. I got out to a pretty solid lead to start the show, but again, it's only April, but my man, we're almost at a 50-50 split. Concerning for me, because this has been a very tough run, but more than anything, we are both at 60% plus accuracy. So even when I'm on a rough run, we're still at over 60%. And AJ, he's just surging up. Let's not forget, AJ, we had said this maybe last season, maybe the season before. The hallmark, 69, 70%. That's what we're aiming for. What's the number for you?
Ooh, this year, Derek, like you said, previously, we're saying 69, 70. This year, man, I'm shooting for 74, at least 75% right there. Big moves, man. We see a lot of people not willing to say where their picks land. Folks, you see it right here. We're putting money in your pockets all day right there. 60% or above. Both of us looking to shoot for 74 coming forward, man.
That means 3 out of 4 times. If we give you a pick, we are going to be correct. It's a high standard to hold, but we're here. If there's a challenge, we're ready to accept. Folks, let's not mince any more words. Let's jump into the bet recap, bringing up the big screen as always. And you gotta love to see a solid list of gold. That's on the right side. That's on AJ's side. So AJ, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take a victory lap right here. You knew something that clearly I did not, because a clean sweep on UFC 300, that deserves a little round of applause. Take over, my friend. What do you got?
Man, this was a crazy night, because I feel like both of those fights, Derek, the two that are on red on your side, the Jamahal Hill, Justin Gaethje, those are moments, man. If things unfolded just slightly, it could have been a whole nother situation. Luckily, I got that gold all on my side, man, but this was still a very close night of fights, if you will.
So folks, I'm not sitting this to toot his horn, but if you just parlayed his picks, if you just said, hey, listen, I'm gonna tail and let's just hope the best happens, you made a bankroll this weekend, man. I'm just saying. All right, cool. So yeah, 5-0 for AJ, 3-2 for me. Contentious picks, Jamahal Hill and Justin Gaethje. I came up short, but this is what matters right here. Consensus picks, 3-0 on UFC 300, baby. One more time, AJ. Come on, one more time. We don't play around over here, folks. We provide value. That's what we do. So no more victory lap, and let's move on to the unfortunate side of things here, AJ. All right, props. Listen, man, it was an interesting night. People were gunning for the $300,000 bonus. Diego Lopez was in a rush to get out of there, so over 1.5 did not cash. Pereira versus Hill. My thought process, was they start slow, they feel each other out. Round 2, round 3, we see a knockout. Well, Pereira said, hold my beer. I'm just gonna touch this man one time and it's gonna be over. So all red right there. Our one saving grace, 1-1 on the parlay. Now, folks, we should have been 2-0 right here, but Jalen Turner decided to walk away from a victory. We'll talk about that later. But Yuri Prochazka, money line, came back from the depths of hell, and then Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage under 1.5. Bo Nickel, he saved the day right there, getting the dub. All right, AJ, that is the bet recap. I want to take a step back really quickly, as we always do, because we're going to look through the main card and we're just kind of go, you know, what was impactful, what matters. But looking back at like the props, looking back at the parlays right there, not bad bets, not bad bets. But do you look back with revisionist history and say, I want that one back? Or are you still happy with the choice you made?
The one I am, Derek, the one I would like to pull back would be that Diego Lopez versus Yusuf Salal over 1.5. I mean, 1.5 makes a lot of sense for that kind of fight. But man, the just knowing that both of these guys are finishers and knowing the crack that they possess in that kind of cage and in that weight class, that's the one I'd like back. That one hurt a little bit to watch. Under makes a lot more sense now in revisionist history. But what about you, Derek? Would you take one back this round?
Well, I imagine you mean Sadiq Yusuf, not Yusuf Zalal. Close, but no cigar right there. Yeah, man, I would definitely take back the Alex Pereira, Jamahal Hill over 1.5 rounds. I just felt like there was some animosity that happened in the press conference that turned things up another notch. That just everything went out the window. It's like Pereira went out there with a mission, and once you started to see that he didn't quite respect the power coming back his way, that the night wrapped up pretty quickly. So, AJ, let's go ahead and let's kind of just jump into talking about that one right there, man. There's not a lot to cover, but if we do pull up the big screen, of course, let's go ahead and let's look at some of these numbers, excuse me. So Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill, and not a lot of volume being done right here, but the most important probably note of all of this is that Alex Pereira is an unstoppable force. AJ, he took 24 total strikes. Most of them were little leg kicks that he was throwing, body jabs and all that. And the moment he decided, I'm actually going to put my left hook on you, I'm going to put that devastating, rock hard left hand, pause, right? Once he did that, Jamahal Hill looked like he saw a ghost, man. He got slept instantly. So my question to you right here is time to give praise where the praise is actually due, credit where credit is actually due. Is Poatan one of the best to have ever done it in the sport of UFC? It's been less than 3 years, AJ. He has knocked down all preconceived notions. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, Derek. And in the short span of time that we've seen Pereira literally go from just this guy who was living in Izzy's shadows to surpassing and then having that whole trilogy and all that stuff, but also in the glory that he's come up through with just the kind of style of fights he has, I think that right there is going to be the thing that has a lot of people remembering Poatan's name, and the style of fights and the tenacity and grit. He's willing to sit in there, man, stand and bang. You got to love that as a fighter. You got to respect that as a champ. I'm excited or happy that he's fighting when we're able to watch it.
Now, let's just throw that question out there right here. You said maybe potentially surpassed Israel Adesanya. Would you say that his resume would actually match up? Because Adesanya, one of the busiest champions that we had, he fought everybody. He ran through his division a couple times. Yuri Prochazka, former champion. Jamahal Hill, former champion. Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya, former champion. Alex Pereira has all of them under his belt, but this is actually his first real title defense. So are we being a little disrespectful to the legacy of the last style bender by saying that Pereira has already surpassed him, or is this the real deal?
Is it disrespectful to say that Poatan's surpassed or even better than Izzy, man? Going forward with the way that Poatan's record versus record, it's hard to argue that against Izzy. But with the tenacity and style of fight that Poatan brings, I do think it's a lot more appealing to the casuals and appealing to people that are willing to put that up against saying, is this champ better than this champ? I do think the fight style makes people a lot happier, but to say, is he better? It does feel like a little bit of disrespect.
It's almost apples to oranges to a degree right there. Both of them had fantastic moments in their careers thus far. Pereira is just kind of blowing people's minds because he's doing things that nobody has done before in record time. So it's amazing to see. And AJ, as always, let me just go ahead and let me bring up the moment that was had. This is a moment right here. Look at that. That is a moment. You do not just walk somebody down, knock them out senseless, and then just look at them like this was child's play. Like, all right, now put me on UFC 301. I'm ready to headline because this is ridiculous. That's what I was supposed to fight in Brazil anyway. So I'm just saying, man, when you get moments like this, it brings everything into the stratosphere. Now, the question is, Adesanya, when he had his moment where he did the machine gun, right? He does the machine gun over the body of whatever the case may be, or all the dances and all that. Has he ever had one of those moments?
Ooh, one of those moments where you're sitting there walking away. I think the only time he has really had that moment, Derek, is the bow pulling it out when he slept Poatan. So it's hard, man. They're both the guys. Both the guys.
It's one of those stories really more or less where you say they need each other to get to that next point of their career. They needed each other. So either way, this was a massive victory for Alex Pereira. Still a lot of unanswered questions. That's the terrible part about it. But the reality is whoever he faces next, we should get some answers to that. Do you see any interest or any intrigue in a Yuri Prochazka rematch, given that Yuri Prochazka was dead meat until he came back from the depths of hell to defeat Alexander Rakic?
That's what I was about to say, Derek. He was getting slumped. That leg was hurting. If Yuri didn't have a weird style to him, it would have been a lot different of a fight. I don't think we're calling for that rematch.
All right, well, Poatan, and still first defense of his light heavyweight tenure. Title reign right there. Beautiful to see. All right, AJ. The next fight right here, let's talk about it, because this not only was a successful title defense from Zhang Weili, but this was seeing her tested in a way that you haven't really seen her tested before, but there was some controversy as well, AJ, and we need to, of course, talk about controversy. So, let's just kind of play the question game right here first. And let me ask you, have you ever seen, do you recall, right, a fighter who gets slept, saved by the bell, and then gets an opportunity to continue the fight? I was trying to rack my brain and just be like, okay, Merab, he lost the fight when he got slept by Ricky Simon and they didn't let him continue, but he was kind of there but wasn't there. I don't really remember. What do you got?
The only one that really comes to mind, Amanda Hebos versus
Marina Rodriguez.
Yup.
Which
Gets
wasn't
slept.
really, it wasn't really.
Oh, she got rocked. Her beam kind of sort of jumps in, and then they get back up, and then Miranda Rodriguez actually doesn't work.
So that's more, but TKO, right? I'm thinking more submission, where somebody literally gets choked unconscious, wakes up, and then is all like, oh, okay, and I get to fight again? All right, cool. And listen, Yan Xiaonan, that's the story of what happened. So, folks, let's go ahead and let's actually kind of like give you some context for what it is that we're talking about here. Here is the clip. So, Yan Xiaonan, this is following the end of round 1, and as she's getting up, wobbles. Oh, she's there, but she's not there, right? Even Weili is all like, oh, what's going on? I thought I got the finish. She's looking around. Listen, it's unfortunate, AJ, but the reality is I've been there. And once you woke up from that nice little nap that you took, you don't really know what's going on. You're looking around. The number one feeling that I can equate it to is confusion. You're just confused. You don't know where you're at. You don't know what exactly happened. You don't know how much time has elapsed. But she came up from that, recovered, and then fought for 4 more rounds, AJ. So a little bit of controversy right there. What do you attribute this to first, man? Like, let's kind of just talk about this. Is that right? Should Jason Herzog have been like, hey, fight's over, you were asleep, you cannot continue, but because she made it to her feet, does that mean, hey, you're still able to fight? What do you think?
This is a rough one, Derek, because I had this thought while the fight was going on. If that's my athlete in there fighting, it truly depends on the dog that's in that athlete. Because at some points, you're gonna, like, as a coach, you're gonna want to be like saying, "Nah, like that fight was over." You know, we all saw the tiredness and the effort that needed to be driven out of Yan Xiaonan after the situation that happened. But then sometimes you don't want that lead to be called. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that outcome to happen if your fighter can still keep it going. And to your point, Derek, she fought 4 more rounds after this. There's no doubting the dog in Yan Xiaonan, so it's hard to take that away from her at the same point.
Yeah, so it was a valiant effort, right? Yan Xiaonan did what she was supposed to do. She was given an opportunity, and she tested Weili. But the reality of the situation was you have to attribute part of that to Weili burning her arms out, trying to get the choke, right? And she never really got it. The following round, she flattens her out, gets her belly down, starts beating on her with punches, and they just never give her the finish. Yan Xiaonan did just enough in the eyes of the referees to continue the fight, which is what being a champion is about. You have to fight through the adversity. So she was tested. It was a closer fight than it seemed, but if you really look at the numbers, Weili dominated. So let's take a look at these numbers. AJ, this is monumentous. 256 total strikes to 73, 106 significant to 43 for Yan Xiaonan. This was arguably the toughest challenger in the division right now. Who's next? I mean, Weili, at this point right now, she has to be considered at least approaching Joanna territory right here, where we say this is Weili champion right here. No disrespect to the great, to the GOAT, JJ, but what do you think about Weili's run?
That's what I was about to say, Derek. Weili champion is a thing, man. There's what makes me I feel like not obliged to say that she's almost entering that territory, but the fact that she can get with adversity, right? Deal with adversity, find find opponents that are going to have the struggle and wipe them all out. Like, she's been just ran through the entire division, but still looks good, still improving, still growing as a fighter. It's the question for me is how long can Wei Li continue this at this high of a level, and who's going to be the next person to stop her, because it looks like the competition's dwindling.
I almost felt a little scared, though, like it was Valentina vibes, man. She closed as a 5-1 favorite. She did not fight as a 5-1 favorite right here. So let's not forget the opening line for Wei Li. She opened at minus 325. Around the time of close, she closed around 525. Yan Xiaonan was like plus 360, and during the course of the fight, got as high up to over plus 1,000. So, like I said, it gave me Valentina vibes because after you do it for so many times, somebody is going to have your number. We just don't know who that contender is in the strawweight division yet. But when we look at some of the wagering perspective, which is what we gave you guys, one of the plays that we were really looking at was the decision. Wei Li hit decision plus 200 right there. So I don't know if you hedged or if you threw a little something on there, but I had to get my sprinkle in on Wei Li, and the mission was accomplished. So great work from the champion, Wei Li Zhang right there. Yan Xiaonan just showed us how tough she is. But again, the question is, who's going to be the person who rises to the top of the heap in the strawweight division to start really challenging some people? All right, AJ, let's move on over to the next bout right here, where we have to preface, folks. I got a clip for you. This was we just talked about a moment, but we're going to talk about a real moment right here. The Blessed Express has gone through a very tumultuous career, especially when Alexander Volkanovski seems to have phased him out of the featherweight division and become the GOAT of the featherweight division himself. Now, his run seems to have come to an end. Ilia Topuria is here, and guess who's the guy who's been working in the background this entire time? He's been keeping his head down. He's been quiet, and he says, when the opportunity arises, I'm going to seize it. I'm going to right what was wrong when I fought Dustin Poirier, and I went up a weight class last time. I'm going to do it prepared, and I'm going to create one of the greatest moments in company history. AJ, the Blessed Express did it again. And let's bring up the big screen. So before you give me your take, let's just show the people. Let's show the people what it is that we're talking about right here. AJ, this is the clip. This is the moment. This is the famous Max Holloway back to Ricardo Lamas back in the day, point down, let's stand and bang. We got 10 seconds left to trade, except the difference was, before we play the clip, the difference was, AJ, Max Holloway, arguably up 4 rounds, has everything to lose here and still said, this is a BMF title, Justin Gaethje. Don't forget, I'm here to scrap. This is what followed right here. Give it to you in slow motion. Swanging, banging. Look, Gaethje's still throwing hammers. Exhausted, but throwing hammers. Don't need to be in this mix 'em up. Boom. Boom. A moment, AJ. A moment. Look at that. Crispy right hand. This is what legends do right here. These are moments that legends are made of. And all that I can say is that Max Holloway, he just added another one. He has resurged the career in a way that I don't know how you do it unless you're provided an opportunity like this. Because now he's saying, hey, there's 2 champions that can get it. Islam Makhachev, you like fighting 145ers? Well, here I am. Let's get it. And oh yeah, Ilia, quit ducking me. I'm ready. The Blessed Express is ready to get that belt back. So AJ, talk to the people. What a moment. What do you make of it?
What a moment, Derick. This one made me so happy to bet, or so happy to see, because when I'm putting in these picks and I see Holloway, man, especially as the underdog going against the BMF for the BMF belt, man, Justin Gaethje, this was a great time, right? Like you said, I think Max Holloway had no reason to put his toe in the sand and draw that line and say, let's stand and bang, besides the fact that he's Blessed Express, brother, and he's one of the greatest fighters to ever do it, and that's how he's going to get things done, and that's why we love him, and still seeing him be able to pull it out and get the victory and I want to say an older fighter, but man, he's only 32, but we've just seen him be growing up as from a kid to the man he is now. I'm excited to see gold wrapped around the Blessed Express one more time.
At what weight class, though, man? Because he looked good at 155. He looked good. He always has been the biggest 145er that there is. I'm just not sure, because here's the one thing, man. All love to this moment. We're going to continue to show a couple more clips on it, but let's not forget, man. Justin Gaethje has one tool in his toolbox that he just never uses, which is, hey, let's grapple this dude up, man. Let's wrestle a little bit. There was 0. This was a boxing match. This was a kickboxing match, and there was a spinning back kick that definitely changed the course of the fight. AJ, let's talk about that really quickly before we jump into the rest of this moment, this magic moment. Very end of round 1. Holloway makes a fantastic read. No, Gaethje likes to duck his head for some of his defense. Cracked him with a spinning back kick right on the nose. Broke that nose. In my opinion, and who knows, man, maybe Holloway was destined to put up a style of fight like this, because styles do make fights. That changed the tide of the fight right there. Gaethje kept worrying about the nose, couldn't breathe out of his mouth. Cardio issues ensued. Holloway started beating up the body after that, and it felt like everything went downhill for him there. How did you feel during the course of round one, right before that moment happened at the very end? Did you think that this was a shoe-in for Holloway, or was it closer than we think?
No, I think it was closer than a lot of people were thinking, Derek. Up until that moment, where Holloway threw that spinning back kick, man, it was a little more tension than I would like to see, especially for a Holloway fight, because we all knew that Justin Gaethje had to land that big one shot, and he was getting close and putting some knuckles to work, and it was very, very worrisome.
It sure was. It sure was. But that's the fight game. And Daniel Cormier, he said it perfect. He said, listen, man, people don't understand this about MMA, but the course of the fight can change in just a moment. And in my opinion, that is what happened. So to continue on this moment here, AJ, the finish came at 4 minutes and 59 seconds of the 5th round. Holloway by knockout, one of the greatest finishes in UFC history at UFC 300. Unreal. And then it's going to say, going to take one hell of a feat to dislodge Max Holloway from the 2024 knockout of the year. Go ahead, write those year-end columns now. Do you agree, AJ?
It's a little early. It's a little early, folks. And if we're talking knockout of the year, it's a little hard, but it is a great knockout. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a stunning one, but it was, last second, it's hard to say, at least now.
Yeah, true that. But look at this, man. They say Ilya looks worried right here. If you saw the panning the camera on him after, he did not look like a happy camper. And my question to you is, why do you think that is, man? Was it just, I'm mad about the shine that is Max Holloway, or he says, oh, this dude's a problem. I got to fight this guy next? Oh, man, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was more of the shine, Derek, especially when you're the champ, you're the guy that's been saying you're the guy for so long. And then a dude that's been having the shine already comes back and still gets it more. You almost feel like it's a little undeserved, at least if you're Ilya Topuria. If you're all of us blessed Holloway fans, you know it's deserved. But I think that's what it is. It has to be the rub. It has to be the shine that Holloway continuously gets all the time.
Because let's just say if they fight, man, you know that Ilya Topuria has probably got one thing on his mind is let me get this dude to the mat and let's play that game right there. So we'll see what happens. But last thing on this, because it goes up perfectly, man. Holloway, he says that a future bout with Topuria is 100% inevitable after the UFC protected Topuria from him to fast track him to the title. And then there's a video right here. So in the name of not getting copyright striked, we want to...
At some point,
not play that. And instead, we want to just kind of read off the transcript more or less. He says, 100%, this is from Holloway. He likes to talk a lot. I like to listen. He's going to have to see me sooner or later. Like I said, there's a reason why UFC didn't want him to fight me. And then he gets a title shot off of Josh Emmett after a guy who just lost to the champion. It made no sense to me. I think so. He thinks he's Dana White or Hunter Campbell. He said he's not going to give us a shot. Cool, brother. It's not up to you. When you get that contract, just sign the dotted line. AJ, those are some tough words for the Blessed Express right there, but this is going to be one of our burning questions. We'll address a couple more in just a few. Does Max Holloway touch UFC gold again in the featherweight division?
Ooh, in the featherweight division, Derek, I want to say yes. For some reason, I feel like lightweight is calling his name. 155 pounds seems to be calling his name, but in the featherweight division, I'm going to say chances are like a 60%.
Just say Arman Tsarukyan would like to have a word about that right there. He said, anybody gets a shot, it's me. It's going to be me. So, all right, man, with that being said, Max Holloway put on a hell of a moment. I'm glad we were able to kind of break this down, but one last piece of business that we did not touch on. Who had Max Holloway by knockout? You know, I had a lot of Max Holloway decision tickets out there. That's what I was seeing. If you cashed in at Max Holloway via knockout, you could have got plus 425 odds on that one. Cash that in the bank. And for everybody who bet Max Holloway in the distance, yeah, you got saved by a fucking miracle right there. Let's just say that. All the decision bettors are pissed off right now to lose it in literally the last second of the fight. All right. A couple more. And this is how stacked of a card it is, man. It's like we can go this route for really all of the fights, but of course we have to pick and choose right here. AJ, this is the next fight. Chucky Olives, Charles Oliveira fights Arman Tsarukyan. This was one of our consensus picks. We rode with the young gun, Arman Tsarukyan. It was a close fight. He almost got guillotined. He almost pulled a... oh, man, I'm going to blank on the name. This is terrible timing to blank on the name here. But you remember there was a fight not that long ago where a fighter got guillotined. His pants came down. You know who I'm talking about. I see his face. I just can't recall his name. The point is, this ended up working out for Sarukian because I was thinking in that entire transition that he was getting guillotined and his pants were down. He finally fought out of position, reversed the position, and when I saw his pants were back on his shorts, I was like, wow, this worked out amazing for you. This could have been a very embarrassing moment. What is the protocol right there, AJ? If you're a referee, no, seriously, because the referee did nothing and was planning on doing nothing. Your fighter, if you're in a mount, he got mounted after that too, right? So like, if your shorts are down, you're not really in a position to fight to your fullest capacity or capability. Do you pause it for a second and say, pull your pants up, bro? Or you just let a fighter get their face smashed in with their pants down?
That's a great question, Derek, because as a ref, I don't feel like you can jump in to stop a wardrobe malfunction, right? Like it's just, it's a piece of clothing. Like it is what it is. It's going down. There's nothing against the rules. It's saying that you have to wear that kind of clothing in that certain kind of style. So I think you just let it go. I mean, unfortunate. If it pops out, it pops out, I guess.
That's true. That is absolutely true. All right, and the fighter that I might be thinking about, maybe it's Gavin Tucker. I might be wrong on that one. I'm not sure. Maybe it happened a couple times. Either way, folks, if you know, drop it in the comment. Let us know. But all right, AJ, let's go back up to the big screen and let's take a look at the numbers, man. Arman Sarukian, total strikes, 75. Over 33 for Charles Oliveira. Takedowns 2 of 4, and submission attempts 4 for Chucky Olives, none for Arman Sarukian. So I was really thinking that Charles Oliveira's game plan was going to be to try to strike with Sarukian more than he would try to grapple, because I thought that if he had an edge, long, rangy, straight punches, you could hurt Arman instead of trying to play the game of fight off of your back and let the wrestler mitigate your jiu-jitsu for 15 minutes. But at the end of the day, Oliveira came close to getting the win, just not close enough. I think that this was us betting on the future, us betting on the young promise of the next generation of this lightweight division, and the dude who is still, aside from Volkanovski, given Islam Makhachev the toughest fight of his career, and that was in his UFC debut. So what do you think about this, man? Is the title window for Chucky Olives, is it still open, or is this now a clear passing of the torch to the next generation?
I think this is a passing of the torch, Derek, especially with not only style of fights, age of fights, but with the well-roundedness of fighters we're seeing. Man, I think this Arman Sarukian style and age group is passing or surpassing the previous fighters we've seen.
Was it alarming to you? Not quite alarming, but as soon as Sarukian actually got to the position that he wanted to, it seems like he was pretty dominant. Like it was dominance from there. There wasn't much that Chucky Olives can do. He cut him. I thought once the blood started flowing, I was like, are we going to see shades of Charles Oliveira versus Paul Felder? Are we going to see shades of I'm going to crumble now that some blood is going and the fight's not going my way? Because he went on a hell of a run, but that was the other thing too, man. In MMA, runs do not last forever. So it felt to me like Charles Oliveira, he's getting a little bit older. Maybe not the bet to make. Luckily, we came correct right here. Arman Sarukian cash plus 320 decision prop right there. And if you wanted him just through and through, you would have got him at open plus money, but he closed at over minus 200 right there. So fair play right there. Let's keep it pushing right on along. AJ, questions. Bo Nickel. Damn near a flawless performance still. He's very down on himself, man. But if you look at the numbers, outstruck Brundage, took him down at will, submitted him. I mean, submission prop was chalk, man. It was like minus 140 for the submission for Bo Nickel. He got the job done under 1.5 rounds. I mean, what are your thoughts on this one, AJ? I have nothing bad to say about Bo Nickel. I just think that what he requested is what he needs, which is a step up in competition. What do you think?
That's exactly what I was going to say, Derek. No knock on the performance, no knock on even Cody Brundage, man, put up a valiant effort. My big question is, when are they going to stop feeding Bo Nickel almost tailor-made matches, man? We want to see Bo Nickel have to, not necessarily we want to see him struggle through adversity, but we want to see him fight somebody who's going to provide him that kind of juxtaposition or that trouble that we want to see, where Bo Nickel can really strive, and then we see a star in the making after that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And once he gets the step up in competition, you're not going to see those quick first round finishes. You're going to see him be tested. At least Cody Brundage had the wherewithal to say, I'm going to make this a dog fight. Because if I make this a dog fight, that's my best chance of winning. Unfortunately, he just couldn't stop the takedown. And you can't be mad because this is one of the most higher level wrestlers that we have in not only the division, but probably the sport right now. So shout out Bo Nickel. Wasn't the performance that you wanted, but you still impressed pretty much everybody. So fought fought more or less like a dude who closed at like minus 1,400 or something ridiculous like that. Not sure what the odds are going to be looking like here in the future. All right, AJ, that is the main card slate right here. As I mentioned before, if we did this for every fight, which we could because this is how stacked of a card, we'll be here for a couple hours. We do not have that time to allot. So what I wanted to do before we jump into the burning questions here, AJ, is I'm going to bring up this big screen, and then let's just take a quick couple of highlights right here from some tailor-made matchups. This is actually the first one that I wanted to talk about right here. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Shout out to the king. Bobby Green put on a bloody spectacle of a performance right here, but my question to you is actually on the side of Jim Miller. You made it to UFC 100, 200, and you made the calling. You fought for it. You went on a run to get to UFC 300, all to get 30-25 by Bobby Green. A bloody mess. Not going to say that he didn't show up, but Bobby Green was just 2-3 steps ahead the entire fight. What's left for Jim Miller? Like, at this point, you did it. You set out to get on UFC 300. Is there any point of continuing to fight? Do we still see him? Because I think you give him another veteran around his age, not a Bobby Green, but somebody more on around his level, and I think he's still incredibly competitive. What do you think?
Oh, incredibly competitive in that certain spectra, if you will, Derick. Like in the fighting an older fighter who's in that same level of Jim Miller, like you're saying, like he can definitely compete in that. But to say or to have him compete against the up and coming and the people that are going to be striving for gold here in the near future, I just don't see it, and I don't see the point of why A10 Jim fucking Miller is still fighting. Don't get me wrong, he's a badass and he can get it done. But just going forward in the prospect, if you will, like where does it go? It doesn't make sense to me.
Understood. So, I mean, shout out Jim Miller. You did it. I would love to continue to see you fight. I hope I said that right, but either way, it doesn't really matter. You are a legend. All right, AJ. So, time for some burning questions. Let's roll it up, man. I need some fire sound effects or something. I might add that in. We'll see what happens. But these are the burning questions. The first one is in regards, of course, to the unfortunate loss of the preacher's daughter right here, Kayla Harrison. Look out, 135ers, because Kayla Harrison is here to stay. Is the former PFL champion, Kayla Harrison, AJ, is she a lock to run through the women's bantamweight division after her dominant submission victory over Holly Holm? Question number one, what do you think?
She a lock? I want to say yes, Derick. The question is, though, 135 pounds. Who's there to really shut things down?
I mean, Raquel Pennington is the champion. So, I mean, that's really the main question that you got to ask is, Kayla Harrison. Okay, leading me directly to my next question right here, which is, will she be a champion? Kayla Harrison, will she be a UFC bantamweight champion by the end of the first quarter of 2025, by around April time of next year? 1 calendar year from today, will she be a champion?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Kayla Harrison, she did smash Holly Holm. It was very sad to see. I thought Holly Holm would give her a much more of a valiant effort, but when we saw that she decided she tried to grapple with Kayla Harrison, I knew what the hell is going on with this card. I am not sure. All right, AJ, a star has been born. We talked about it in detail a little bit, but Diego Lopez, man, a star has been born. Or the question is, has a star been born? Is Diego Lopez poised to make one of these like Conor McGregor-esque runs after that insane knockout victory over Sadiq Youssef? At this point, he's 3-1 in the UFC, all 3 wins coming by first-round finish, and his only loss was a short-notice fight against Movsar Evloev, which was his debut, a fight that he does want back. It has a star been born with Diego Lopez.
Oh, absolutely, Derick. In fact, man, I'm glad this is still a question because we were talking about that when he first made his debut against Movsar Evloev. Diego Lopez is a star. He can get things done, and he's down to scrap, man. This guy has a long future ahead of him, and a lot of eyes going to be going for him here in the near future.
Do you think that his calling, because he did, I don't know if you picked up on this, he did his post-fight interview in 3 different languages. He did Mexican, he did Spanish, he did Portuguese, and he did English. This dude is trying to transcend right now, it seems to me. I mean, the English wasn't very great, right? But the point is you're trying. That's the entire point. So if you could have Brazil behind you, Mexico behind you, the United States behind you, that's international star power right there. The hair flowing in the wind while he's knocking people senseless and the sick jiu-jitsu. All I'm saying, man, is I think definitely onto something right here. All right, AJ, moving on along. Another unfortunate reality right here. Calvin Kattar. He's going to kind of join. This is going to be coupled with a couple other things. So Aljamain Sterling looked fantastic at 145 pounds, looked like a wet blanket. Calvin Kattar sad enough to say, looked like he didn't quite show up. That's what the commentators were saying. That's what it kind of looked like. He never was able to get going because the takedown threat was too much, and coming back from 2 years, ACL tear, all that stuff, he just didn't bring it. So the question is this: missed opportunities. Is the title run for fighters such as Calvin Kattar, Marina Rodriguez, Holly Holm, fighters of that cloth, is the title window, has it closed for these fighters collectively after their performances at UFC 300?
Closed entirely, Derek? I want to say no, but is it shrinking rapidly? Absolutely.
So Calvin Kattar, for an example, at this point, 23-8, you've made it to that top run a few different times, and they said they kind of disparaged him, and you don't want to disparage him this way, but it's true. He never cracked the upper echelon of the division. He is definitely a 5 to 10 fighter, hands down. But 1 to 5 is a different story, and we're not quite on that echelon yet. So, for an example, do you see, especially with the clock ticking, do you see Calvin Kattar getting another title fight in his career?
I don't, Derek, and as unfortunate as it is for the Kattar fans out there, I do not see a path, if you will, to how Calvin Kattar goes from where he is to getting to the gold and having people wanting him to fight for it.
And same thing for Marina Rodriguez, man. Another setback right here, this time to Bate Estaca, Jessica Andrade, who gets the cheat code because she can fight in multiple divisions in the top 10 and just get these shots time and time again. But it's because of how good she is. Marina Rodriguez only has 4 losses right here, but it seems like, given her age, she got a late start in MMA. I just don't know, aside from the lack of depth in strawweight, how she gets another shot at a title. I don't see it.
Yeah, no, what sucks for Rodriguez is she has all the potential to be there, but just not, again, not a clear path in order to actually make the moves to have the media start seeing this and wanting to draw you in, if that makes sense.
Really what it is, it's just a lack of takedown defense, man. Like, once that gets shored up, like, the game changes for her. She's fantastic striking, but as you saw, even against Andrade, right, even if it's not a matter of taking her down, it's the threat of taking her down, and then when she gets backed up, gets hit with the big shot, doesn't wear the damage well. I really thought a couple years ago Marina Rodriguez was definitely destined for that title run, but we just never saw it. And then Holly Holm, as we just mentioned right here, listen, man, you're 40 plus at this point. I know she had the dopest six pack of every fighter at the weigh-ins at 42 or whatever the case may be, but this might be time for the preacher's daughter. Last one right here, Cody Garbrandt. I'm gonna kind of throw him in that kind of same category. Listen. First fight of the night, Figgy looked awesome, former champ, and he did what he needed to do. It looked like, here's the reason why Cody Garbrandt isn't quite on that list, because it looked like Figgy didn't want to stand with him. It looked like Garbrandt was giving him fits with the speed. So Figgy said, I'm going to take you down and I'm going to choke you. And he did. First person to have that much control time on Garbrandt and submit Garbrandt. So it's not like this happens normally. Is the window still open at 135 for Cody Garbrandt?
For Garbrandt, man, I still think it's closing, Derek, as rough it is, because I love seeing Cody Garbrandt's style of fights. I just don't think that that method or the type of fighter he is going to have the durability and the longevity to make it back to gold.
Well, the good news for Cody Garbrandt, as well as Holly Holm, is they're former champions. So it's not like they can't say that they've been there before. They definitely have. All right, AJ, one more burning question right here. Jalen Turner goes from a world beater to average? Is that? I don't believe that. But if you look at the record right here, let's just say, what's next for Jalen Turner, AJ? I mean, after walking away from what was looking like pretty much a surefire TKO against Renato Moicano to then getting TKO'd himself about like 4 minutes later in the fight, the promise of the tarantula Jalen Turner seems to have waned a little bit. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but 2 of those losses 2 of those losses are via split decision to Dan Hooker and to Mateus Gamrot. This, of course, being the third, the TKO loss to Renato Moicano. All fights that could have been won. But given that the record is 2-3 in his last 5, what's the promise for Jalen Turner?
Man, it's rough because there's a lot of promise for Jalen Turner. Like Turner has all the abilities and all the potential to actually make a massive move, and especially with the intangibles that he possesses, Turner can make things happen. But sometimes it just feels like he falters a little bit, like you're saying in this fight, where he was looking good, and then out of nowhere, 4 minutes later, he's losing the fight, getting slept. This was a rough one to see because it's not a matter of lack of skill or lack of effort or putting yourself in the right places. It's just, I want to say, concentration or some little aspect that just needs to be hammered down, and then Jalen Turner will look good going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that he's a bad matchup for a lot of these guys. He's the biggest, tallest, longest dude in the lightweight division right now. So making that weight is always a struggle. I don't know if going up would help him necessarily, but maybe it would. I don't know, man. But this was, again, it busted everybody's parlay, busted my parlay. Jalen Turner had the win, walked away from it, tried to Mark Hunt it. Wasn't quite there. Maybe it was the $300,000 bonus. Maybe that was what it was. But with that being said, folks, that's going to be your recap for the card, some betting implications, just some overview, some things that you need to think about. Now, we don't have a lot here for you for the news and notes, given that most of what we talked about was pertaining to this event. But we just have two things. One is still going to be pertaining to this event. But let's go ahead and let's talk about it really quickly here, AJ. All right, so let's bring back up the news and notes. I don't know if you caught this, AJ, but Arman Tsarukyan, he threw a punch at a fan during his walkout at UFC 300. So let's go ahead and turn this down. So you have to catch it. Look at that. Swings on him. What's up? So look, I'll have this zoomed in for those who are watching, but Arman Tsarukyan shaking hands. Somebody does something. You can see he looks. He's like, what's up? Dink, dink. Look, that was like a three-piece right there. That was a jab and two right crosses. And then he continues, and he's hyped up. He's like, let's go. I'm ready to fight right here. Let's get it. First, you love that. Second, I love how this is a sport where that can just go completely just under the radar and nobody talks about it. And then you go and fight, and you win your fight, and it's all love, and there's no consequences. But first question, reap what you sowed, right? Why would you talk shit to a professional fighter who's about to go and punch people in the face locked in an octagon? You know what I mean? So you get what you deserve. But, man, what do you make of that situation?
Talk shit, get hit. I mean, it's something we grew up with, you know? It's just what it is, man. You want to talk shit to a professional fighter, these dudes will do stuff. So, man, you better watch your mouth or it's going to get smacked, and that's what happened. I'm happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because we have a little clip where he's getting asked. He's like, so
what exactly happens with those fans on your entrance?
He showed me wanted to punch me, and I wanted to punch him back. That's it. So the guys, like, no one showed me. Doesn't matter who you are, I'm gonna punch you in the face. You can like to show me from the 200 meters. I'm not gonna punch you, but when you're close to me, it's like automatically, I'm like from Russia. Like, don't do that, please. Or I'm gonna go to the prison in US.
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna catch a case. Don't play with me, man. He basically just said, put some respect on my name. If you're in front of me, you talking that mess, get ready to square up because I'm about to give it to you. And this dude not playing. He's from Russia. Don't play. So we love it. I love the energy. Any other comment on that one?
I love it, Derick. What is my favorite part? Of course I'm gonna hit you. You're right here. Duh. No.
Yeah, I mean, come on, bro. We're not going to think twice about that one. And then I'm going to walk out. I'm going to continue doing my business. So this is just, this is light work. Don't forget, man, this is what they do. This is their job, is to punch people in the face. You are no different. All right, AJ, one last thing. Big news here. Big news. UFC 303 announced Conor McGregor. He is set to return against Michael Chandler. And this time, AJ, it's not McGregor doing the announcing himself. We actually have Dana White. If it comes out the lips of Dana White, still not a surefire lock, but it's better than anything we've had. So let's check it out.
Huh. June 1st, Newark, New Jersey, pay-per-view. Main event,
Okay.
Islam versus Poirier.
The rematch. Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. Or is it a rematch?
Co-main event, 5 rounds. Strickland versus Costa.
Okay, fun.
June 29th.
Look at him.
Conor versus Chandler.
Oh, shit.
5 rounds, 170 pounds.
Bruh, so you got a 5-rounder non-co-main event, just a Conor McGregor 5-rounder just cuz. Then you get the co-main 5-round, and then you get the, of course, you get the actual championship fight right there for Makhachev and Poirier. So, AJ, give me a take on this while I go figure out if that main event will be a rematch or if it will be a first bout. Give me a take on that.
My big question, Derick, is I'm excited to see if it's actually going to happen. We've been pondering, we've been going through the back and forth, whether Conor's actually going to step in the cage again. This could be a media play, man. This could be one of the things that's drumming up things, or this could be the moment where we see Conor actually step back into the octagon. Personally, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not putting all my eggs in that Conor McGregor basket. I can see it happening, but will it be the actual, reclamation, reconfirmation, whatever the case is? Will this be the resurgence of Conor McGregor? I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first piece of humble pie you have to eat is that you ain't no main event, buddy. You're not no more. We'll stack the card and then we'll throw you in there, but you're not even the co-main event. You're in the middle, right? I love that because that's humble pie right there. To recant my statement, this is not a rematch. The reason I thought it was is because I'm just remembering him jumping guillotine against Khabib. No, he fought Khabib. Now he gets the shot against Islam. So Dustin Poirier, fresh blood. I guess there's a little traction in the lightweight division. Still don't like it. Still think that they need to open up the opportunity to the Armin Sarukians of the world and all of that, even though that technically would be a rematch. But with that being said, man, we have some life. So, AJ, that was the news and notes. Any other take before we jump into a rankings review, my friend?
Let's get it, brother.
Let's get it. All right. So, folks, I mean, listen, you can talk every division. There was a million ranked fighters on the card, but we can't do that, of course. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the UFC rankings pulled up. Not our own rankings, just the UFC.com rankings, because, again, there's a lot to talk about, and it doesn't really matter which way you go. So, let's go ahead and let's pull up that big screen, AJ, and let's take a look at what we have today. So, all right, when we're taking a look at one of the most pertinent divisions right here, this was the main event, obviously, light heavyweight. It's crazy to see that number one and number two contenders, have been demolished by this guy, right? Knockouts on both of them. The only reasonable take that can be left to make is give Magomed Ankalaev the shot, man. That's all that I'm just trying to say right here. My dark horse of the light heavyweight division has been ducked for too long. It's time for him to get his opportunity. Is there anybody here on this list of fighters that you would even consider? Because I think Pereira was saying something along the lines of give Yuri versus Ankalaev the number one contender fight, and whoever wins that, I'll fight them next. What do you think?
Man, I'm saying give the dark horse some shine. Magomed Ankalaev needs his shot, man. No, everybody else, look at the top five right there. Everybody else has had their chance to get the smoke, and Magomed Ankalaev arguably has the best shot and the best style of all of these fighters to get it done. I'm saying give the man a shot.
That's it. Give my guy a shot. Let's see if my claim pays off. When did I make that claim, AJ? It's at least been like 2-3 years at this point.
Oh, at least. I want to say at least 2021.
There we go. All right, Ankalaev, we'll see if you get the next shot. Again, let's take a look back down here at the women's strawweight division. There's only one fighter who does have an actual claim, Tatiana Suarez, but after injuries, it's kind of nonstop. So let's see who has been dismantled. Xiaonan has, Lemos has, Andrade has. Let me see. Who else is Weili fight? Nobody really else, right? So then, I guess, see, that's the thing. Maybe Marina Rodriguez still does have a window. There's just no one left to fight. So you have Vina Jandiroba, Tatiana Suarez, Marina Rodriguez, and then you got the rest of the pack. Who do you like to fight next? Tatiana Suarez is kind of a lock, so let's not count her. Besides her.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's a lock, man. I want to see how Vina Jandiroba actually does against the ground and pound and the pressure and the control that Weili is going to put on her. But other than that, man, it's hard to really see somebody that has a tactical game plan against Yan Xiaonan, if that makes sense.
Or against Weili.
Weili, excuse me.
Yeah, understood. All right, cool. Let's see who else we could kind of bring to the table right here. So as we were saying, the number one contender is Volkanovski, but Holloway has restuck his stake, right? He's like, all right, listen, bro. Taporia, you're ducking me. You have Aljamain Sterling, who should now be kind of somewhere in this mix after dominating Calvin Kattar. He said, give me Brian Ortega next. He said, I want the number 3 guy. Give me Brian Ortega. I'll work my way up this ladder, and then I'll fight the champion, and then he's looking to become the champion in the featherweight division. The question is, can Aljamain Sterling become champion at 145 pounds?
Can he? Yeah, the potential's there. The ability's there. I don't see it happening. Like I'm saying, it's possible, but I just don't see with the style of fights and the level of the top 5 up at this weight class, man. I just don't see it happening for Aljo.
And then now that we are here, let me see, bantamweight. There we go. All right, so all the numbers. Let me see if I can get this to look a little bit better. There we go. All right, so let's take a look here. As you can see, GDR, she just cracked the ranking, so she's back in the mix. You have Holly Holm was at number 5. So Kayla Harrison should immediately jump into this top 5 right here. Here's the good news. The good news is that Pennington's a fresh champ, right? And it's not Amanda Nunes. So everybody can effectively pretty much, except Buena Silva, everybody can be like, all right, what's up? I'm ready. So in a way, Holly Holm title shot is still there. Like she's still in the mix. But I think if you insert Kayla Harrison, everybody on this list gets smashed at this point. And not with like Kayla Harrison doesn't even need to strike. She hardly needs to throw a punch. She just needs to shoot that blast double. And it looked very apparent. I don't know anybody with enough takedown defense who's going to be able to stop it. Maybe Juliana Pena, maybe Rocky Pennington, maybe. But again, the odds are that Kayla Harrison comes in and just runs through this division, correct?
Yeah, the odds look like it, Derek. I'm thinking the only way you're going to get one over on Kayla Harrison is, yeah, like you said, stuff the takedowns or just throw a nice uppercut as she's coming in and you start her. Other than that, it's going to be a rough go for all these girls.
Where does Norma Dumont fit in right here, man? Feels like she's winning the majority of her fights, but she's making very little progress actually climbing that ladder. Where does she fit in here?
I love Norma Dumont, Derek, especially as a fighter. Like this is one of those ones where can she do it? Yes, but there seems to be I don't want to say a roadblock or delay in her progress, but she's not having the style of fights that make people want to jump her up the ladder. So does Norma Dumont fit into this puzzle? I would say yes, maybe in like 3 or 4 fights.
Sure. All right, fair enough. Well, I think that's a pretty comprehensive rankings review, my friend. So we made it. UFC 300, it is officially in the history books. Now, we were spoiled, and as I had alluded to maybe off air, AJ, we have our work cut out for us because we are going to be hitting the film study hard. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it, but the next couple, let's just say next month or so of fights, it's going to be for the hardcores, so strap in. And this is where the money is made. It's difficult to make money on a UFC 300 style card. The money is really made on the unknown fighters and the film study that we prepare for you week in and week out. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to work. AJ, take us out of here, my friend.
Like Derick said, folks, it might be a grind for us over here to look at the videos and breakdowns and do all this kind of stuff. But regardless, this is where the money is made. We're putting money in your pockets every single weekend. Nobody does it better. Nobody's doing it like us. We're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for a reason. You better start paying attention, folks. We're making you money. This week, 5 fight picks straights just for me and 3-0 on our consensus. What else do you want? All we want you to do is hit that subscribe button.
And if you haven't done it by now, not sure what you're doing, but you heard the man. That's it for us. Catch us on Friday for the UFC Vegas 91 prediction show. Until next time, folks. Peace.